All right. It looks like we are live. Welcome back. Oh wait, no. Welcome back to yet another BriHive live stream. I'm like, what is going on with my lighting today? It's like extra dark. Let me see if I can. Let's see. Okay. Starting off the live stream a little crazy today. Welcome back to yet another BriHive Live. We are back to talk about some cases that we have already discussed on this channel. We are going to be jumping into Diddy actually responding to his lawsuit from Rodney Jones. And then we're also going to be talking about Richard Gadd coming out of the baby Reindeer lawsuit that we covered for like the last 2 weeks. What he had to say in his declaration. Now, I had some time to review a part of the declaration, but I have not had the time to read the whole thing. And I would just let y'all know right now, this declaration has some sass. It's like Richard Gadd with the sass, okay, in the declaration. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let's go back to Diddy. Diddy was sued by a bunch of people, but the particular case that we're talking about is the Rodney Jones one, basically accusing Diddy of SA. Rodney Jones is also the one with that lawyer that got in trouble with the grievance committee. So Diddy definitely throws some shade starting off there. And I would have to say with the Diddy's motion to dismiss, it does start off quite shady. So we're going to jump into that first. He is asking that the whole case be dismissed because Rodney failed to state a claim, i.e. his attorney failed to state a claim on his behalf. And then we're going to jump into Richard Gadd. He is the writer and producer, or I don't know if he's a producer, but he wrote Baby Reindeer, the very popular Netflix limited series. And the lady who it is allegedly based upon decided to sue him for defamation and basically saying all these bad things about her. And she wants him to pay her for this, and also like her right to publicity, because for whatever reason, maybe she was going to tell the story herself, but she didn't. But anyway, she is saying that Richard Gadd owes her some money for defaming her and then also using her image, although it wasn't her, for her right to publicity and right to tell her story. And the thing is, she still has the right to tell her story the way she wants to. Maybe Netflix will give her a contract to write the story in the way that she remembers it happening. And y'all, now my light is too light. So let me fix that. I want to go for like a, ambiance look, but then also the darkness is too dark sometimes. So anyways, let's go ahead and start the live stream off. I'm sorry, I'm running a little bit late, y'all, so I'm a little bit all over the place. I just ate, so please help me if I got food rolling around my mouth. Yeah, I'm sorry in advance for that. Anyways, let's see where we are at with the like goal. We are at 8 likes with 11 people watching live. So I know at least 3 people did not hit the like button. So if you have not already, please do hit the like button. We are going to make the like goal for the live stream 65 because we're reaching for the stars and we are going to get there. Okay, so we're going to make the like goal 65. We are already 8 likes in. So again, if you haven't already hit the like button, please do. Oh, and thank you, Kimmy, for the channel or the chat in the back. She didn't actually sue Richard Gadd. She sued Netflix. But maybe, just maybe, Netflix will give her her own opportunity to tell the story in the way that she would like to tell it, her right to publicity. Let's go ahead and jump into the chat and see who's here watching live with us. If you're watching on the replay, make sure you drop in the comments letting us know that you're watching on the replay. And if you're on live, go ahead and drop in the chat and let us know that you made it here live on time, unlike me. So let's have Bossy B bring us in because it's been quite a while. Oh, I almost forgot how to live stream. I'm like clicking the wrong buttons here. We got Leela Well saying hi, hello, and welcome in. Nice to have you back in the live stream. We got Destined to Be, also known as Tanya D, a member and moderator of the channel, saying hey to Leela and also saying happy Thursday, BriHive. Bossy B told me to remind you to make sure you buzz by and hit that like button on your way in. Yes, of course. Thank you for the reminder and welcome back, Destined to Be. I'm like always trying to figure out what what name am I going to use? We got Deacon Fatal, another member and moderator of the channel, saying hello all. Hello, we have missed you in the live stream. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hope everything is going wonderful for you. We got Essie saying hello, Bree and BriHive. Hello and welcome back. Nice to have you in tonight. We got Crystal Harris. We got some OGs in the chat. Welcome back. Nice to have you in tonight, saying live in the hive. Yes, we are live. We got Deacon Fatal saying, wasn't he also sued by the cartel? Like the cartel, as in Diddy sued by the cartel? I don't know about that one. We got Crystal Harris said catching up on 1.25 speed. Well, you are not that far behind because I really just got on the camera. So you'll be caught up in no time. Got Deacon Fatal saying hi. We got Crystal Harris saying hey. We got Deacon Fatal saying Netflix loves mess like all entertainment folks do. And yeah, Netflix actually gets sued quite a lot, especially in the LA courts. One time I just searched up their name and they have several lawsuits from people that was on their shows, for people that watch their shows. Everybody is suing Netflix, but that's what happens when you have such a large company, and now they're being sued by the baby reindeer, or the alleged baby reindeer, Fiona Harvey, for basically basing a story on her. And she really stuck to that first line, saying this is a true story, and ignored all the other lines that said this is a dramatization, this is fictional, all of the above. She only focused on that one thing. Now, was it a mistake on Netflix part by putting big, bold letters that this is a true story? Yes, it was. But I don't know if it carries throughout the whole series. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that. We got Essie saying hey to Deacon Fatal. We got Kayla Eloise, another member of the channel. Welcome in. Nice to have you in tonight, saying hi, everyone, doing laundry and listening in. Well, thank you for joining us. And I'm sure someone is happy that you're doing some chores. So yeah. I also need to do laundry. So I'll just pretend like it's getting done in my brain. Okay, we got Kayla saying hi to Deacon. We got Kimmy Locker, a member, moderator, consultant, paralegal, and shout out to Kimmy because she pulled the documents from me. I had some other cases that I wanted to cover as well, and I just did not have time to go and try to buy the documents. By the time I got home pretty late today. So shout out to Kimmy again for grabbing the documents. There are updates in the Tom Girardi case. And also there's a new lawsuit against Nicki Minaj because she called a fan a stalker. And we are covering this stalker lawsuit based on a stalker allegation for the Richard Gadd situation, the Netflix situation. So I didn't want to cover those cases. Hopefully I'll be able to find the documents at some point and get y'all updated, get me updated on it, okay? Because I have not even read it. In short, Tom Girardi was found, sorry, Kimmy, I'll come back to your chat. Tom Girardi was found guilty of the embezzlement that he was charged with. They also found him competent to stand trial, and he actually testified in his trial. So I have not gotten caught up on any of that. I'm just kind of reading headlines like, oh, dang, that's interesting. So I'm going to wait and get myself actually caught up onto speed so that I can talk about the things. And then Nicki Minaj was sued by a fan who she said was a stalker, or allegedly from the complaint says that Nicki said he was a stalker. And I thought that was a pretty interesting lawsuit as well, especially because we have all this stalking lawsuitness going on. Kimmy says, hello, BriHive. I doubt it'll happen now, but I totally would have watched Baby Reindeer from her perspective. It almost certainly would have been unhinged. Yeah. Almost certainly would have been unhinged. Gadd's character is going to turn into like an actual reindeer at this point. They're going to make him the reindeer. What else could potentially happen with her writing the show? But I think it would be something interesting. Maybe Netflix should give her a deal and say, okay, here's your right to publicity. Show us how you think the story happened. It's going to be Gadd as a reindeer stalking her, like guaranteed. No, just don't quote me on that. We got Chelsea B, another member of the channel. Welcome in, saying, hey, everyone. Hello and welcome back to the live stream. We got Deacon Fiddle saying, I thought today was Friday and I'm still upset about that. Sorry. Yes, it's not Friday. We are on Thursday still. So, but luckily you get to hang out with us at nighttime. That's always fun. Deacon Fiddle says, I think he was, as far as being sued by the cartel. Maybe. We got Dinky Fatal says they could have be Blockbuster. Yeah, it could have been a Blockbuster for sure. Deacon Fatal saying Kimmy is awesome for pulling the documents, of course. And then we got Deacon Fatal saying I do have to head around 10:15 my time because I have a lot of homework and hopefully some sleep. Well, we are going to wish you luck on your homework, and we definitely thank you for popping in, but stay as long as you can. And like I said, good luck on your homework. Now to us and getting into Diddy's motion to dismiss was spicy in the beginning, but then I kind of got bored. So I may skip around in the document a little bit just so we can get through Richard Gadd because that's where the sass is. And what you call it, Diddy just kind of took it was a lot of words, I must say. A lot of words. The beginning is good. The middle is I could have summarized that in probably like 5 pages, but their thing is like 25 pages. I got a couple of more comments and then I'm going to jump into the cases. We got Christopher, welcome back into the live stream saying, hey, hello, Bri and BriHive. Long time no see. Can't read, Bri. Can't stay very long, but happen to be able to join for a bit. Well, we are happy to have you in, even if just for a little while. And make sure to hit the like button before you head out. Deacon Fatal says, I ended up watching psychology takes on Baby Reindeer. I haven't seen that. Kimmy Locker saying, hey to Christopher, and then Deacon Fatal saying, that's fine. That's fine. I will be honest, I am very biased about Diddy in general. Yeah. And we probably are. But I will have to say that Diddy's attorney made some good points and that I was like, oh yeah. They're completely right on that. Now, does it mean that the case is going to get dismissed? I don't know. I don't know if it means it's going to get dismissed, but let's go ahead. Let's stop talking about it. Let's be about it. Let's jump into the Diddy lawsuit. And the motion to dismiss. So again, summary for those of you who do not know what we're talking about. Diddy has been sued by a bunch of people, but today we are talking about his lawsuit from Rodney Jones, a producer that worked on the Love album with him, that came out saying that Diddy SA'd him along with other people around him SA'ing him and Diddy knowing about it. And then Diddy also didn't pay him for actually producing the album and that it was like a RICO charge and all of these people, all of these music labels were working together to sell drugs, to SA people and traffic people, and also to not pay Mr. Rodney Jones. He is also the man with a lawyer that can't seem to get it right in the federal courts. And Diddy accuses him of making these salacious statements along with the courts actually accusing him of doing the same thing. So that's the lawsuit that we're talking about. We're going to jump right into with a little bit of sass that Diddy throws in at the beginning, or Diddy's attorneys. Let's not give Diddy too much credit. Is he still being investigated by the Homeland Security? Or was it the Homeland? Who raided him? It was Homeland. Is it called Homeland Security? I feel like I'm calling it the wrong thing. But he was raided by somebody. What's going on with that? I have not seen any updates on that. But anyways, let's go ahead and jump right into the document that we have. He filed a motion to dismiss. And y'all know what? Obviously, waiting a week to stream is not really working for me. It does give me a little bit of a break. I'll be honest with that. However, I am not even sharing the stream. Like, I'm forgetting how to stream just by waiting a week in between my live streams. Bri, share the freaking screen, girl. You gotta actually get the technical difficulties under wraps here. Okay, here we go. They are requesting an oral argument on this motion to dismiss for the second amended complaint. Third time that Rodney has tried to fix his claims, and he still don't got it together according to Diddy. We're gonna skip all of this table of contents because we do not care about that junk. Let's jump into the meat and potatoes of what Diddy's allegations are and why he thinks that dang, that table of contents was long, and why he thinks that this case should be dismissed. They're respectfully submitting it on behalf of all the defendants, and they're asking for the second amended complaint, the case in general, to be dismissed with prejudice. He cannot bring it back. None of these allegations again, because basically he sucked at making the allegations and he's wasting everyone's time and money, according to Diddy and his attorneys, and I guess the attorneys for the record labels too. So anyways, preliminary statement. Jones' second amended complaint is his third attempt to dress up a run-of-the-mill commercial disagreement as a salacious RICO conspiracy. RICO, who's also being charged with RICO, is Young Thug. That trial is still going on, and I will tell y'all the truth, I have not watched that trial. I think I watched like preliminary or opening statements, and that's about it. That's about all that I've watched in that trial. So if y'all got any details, feel free to give us an update on what's happening with that case. But a year of sitting in trial, I just don't have the capacity to watch that at this point. But anyways, just like Young Thug is being charged with, or not, he's being charged with RICO charges. Rodney is trying to sue Diddy and the record labels in not paying him, and also apparently trafficking drugs and trafficking people and all of the things. Also suing them for RICO conspiracy charges. So not charges, but liability. Okay. So here we go. Running to nearly 100 pages, it includes countless tall tales, shameless celebrity name drops, and irrelevant images. I have to agree with them. I do think a lot of the images did not need to be in the complaint, but apparently this attorney loves to put images in complaints for whatever reason. Yet, despite all of its hyperbole? Yeah, that is hyperbole, right? That looks like a funny spelling. But anyways, yet despite all of its hyperbole and lurid theatrics, the second amended complaint fails to state a single viable claim against any of the Combs defendants. Replete with legal meaningless allegations and blatant falsehoods, the SAC's true purpose is to generate media hype and exploit it to extract a settlement. No surprise, given that Jones's attorney was recently referred to this court's grievance committee for engaging in a pattern of improperly filing cases in federal court to garner media attention, embarrass defendants with salacious allegations, and pressure defendants to settle quickly. And that is a quote from the court of why they referred him to the grievance committee. They are using like very what would I call it? The language is colorful that they are using in this complaint in the opening. It's making it very strong in the opening. Like I said, they kind of lost me in the middle. It got kind of boring, but the opening, very colorful language. Good job to the attorneys on that. Taking a page from his attorney's playbook, Jones recently, and let me tell y'all something. If you are in a lawsuit, do not get on the internet posting stuff, okay? Like, I can't tell you how many times people do this. So anyways, let's jump into it. So recently, Jones recently posted a video on X, also known as Twitter, platform in which he, together with a performer known as Uncle Murda, laughed about lawsuit despite his allegations of severe emotional distress. Yes, they are going to use your Twitter videos against you. You're so emotionally distressed, but you're laughing about the lawsuit online. Not a good look. Not saying that he was not emotionally harmed by the situations, but getting on the internet while a lawsuit is pending is not the best course of action. Okay, so he's laughing despite saying he's severely emotionally distressed, demanded Mr. Combs pay him that money by Monday and warned, "I'm from Chicago. We don't play about our business." Like the SAC, Jones' videotaped threats on social media are part of a calculated effort to promote his personal brand and profit from the exposure. Such tactics have no place in federal court. Now, again, if this did happen, I did not see the Twitter video, but if this did happen, inappropriate behavior by a plaintiff, okay? They're going to use that against you in court, no doubt about it. Okay, so first, let's see here. First, the RICO claim must be dismissed because the SAC does not establish standing to sue, fails to plead a pattern of racketeering activity, and fails to plead the existence of a RICO enterprise. This should have all been done. That should have been the whole complaint at that point, but they did have to cite the actual laws. Second, the Trafficking Victims Protection Act claim must be dismissed because the SAC fails to allege any act from which a plausible inference could be drawn that threats of force, fraud, or coercion were used to compel Jones to commit a commercial sex act, and that Jones is a victim under the statute. Third, Jones' SA claims against Combs must be dismissed because Jones fails to plead the most basic facts, such as where and when any purported instance of assault occurred or what allegedly transpired. He kind of just made general statements. Fourth, Jones' baseless attempt to hold Mr. Combs liable for alleged sexual advances of third parties, which Jones alleged he rebuffed, alleges he rebuffed on a premise liability theory must be dismissed because he fails to allege facts showing that any claimed assault was foreseeable by Mr. Combs, that plaintiff suffered any injuries, or that Mr. Combs exercised control over the alleged perpetrators on the premises. And that's one of the points that I was like, yes, in order to be held liable for something that someone did on your property, it had to be reasonably foreseeable. Like, you can't just say, oh, just because these people are on my property, I'm responsible for what they do. What if people came on my property and like blew up my house? I can't be liable because someone came on my property and I invited them there and they blew up my house, right? So you have to actually have control over these people. Now, if I invited people into my house to do a fireworks show and then they blew up my house by doing the fireworks show, then that is reasonably foreseeable and I should be held liable for what those third parties did, right? So no, I will not be having any fireworks shows at my house. But anyways, you guys kind of get the point of where I'm going with that. Everything cannot just automatically hold you liable just because it's on your property. Fifth, the negligent infliction of emotional distress and intentional infliction of emotional distress claims against Combs must be dismissed because they are entirely duplicative of other claims and because the SAC fails to plead intent outrageous behavior by Mr. Combs towards Jones or any injury. That's similar to, what was that in Baby Reindeer when she tried to claim? Yes, it was Baby Reindeer where she was trying to claim the negligent emotional distress and intentional emotional distress, and they made the same arguments. Netflix made the same arguments that you can't use that to try to win on defamation when you lose on defamation. 6, the breach of oral contract claim against Love Records and Mr. Combs must be dismissed because it's barred by the statute of frauds, and the second amended complaint fails to allege sufficient facts to plead an enforceable contract. So in summary, that's what he argues. I'll give you that. That's what they argue in summary, but for somehow they made this document 25 pages. It is because they do cite a lot of case law in it, which some of it is going to be important for what we're going to be covering on this lawsuit. So let's jump back into it. Okay. So let's get into the facts that were in the second amended complaint that they're going to use to argue their point. They start off by saying Jones claims he worked as a music producer on Mr. Combs' Love album from September 2022 to September 2023. During this time, Jones allegedly resided with Mr. Combs at his residences in Miami and Los Angeles, where he claims to have witnessed and participated in drug use, firearm possession, and sex parties. Although the SAC is replete with far-fetched tales of misconduct, it contains very few allegations relating to Jones, apart from the disputed claim that Mr. Combs did not pay Jones as promised for purportedly working as a producer on the Love album. They are correct in pointing that out. A lot of it is that, oh, they were doing trafficking people, but not me. They were trafficking other people. Oh, they were selling drugs, but not to me. They were selling drugs to other people and they were making other people sell drugs. I don't know what's standing. It's not personally happening to him, so he can't sue on behalf of those people from being trafficked. I guess he's thinking that is the emotional distress that was caused to him because he had to watch these people be trafficked and these guns be trafficked and these drugs allegedly be trafficked. That doesn't give you standing to sue, right? Although Jones claims he was forced into soliciting and having sex with sex workers, the SAC fails to identify what this force consisted of and does not link any specific threat to any specific act. Jones claims he was repeatedly groped and touched by Mr. Combs, but fails to allege the specific date, location, or details of any such incident. And this is why I say they could have summarized this like all in 2 pages, because they're summarizing it right now. The thing about the way that this statement of facts is written is that it has arguments in it. Statement of facts are not supposed to have arguments in it. For the attorneys that don't know, or for people that don't know, you're supposed to be restating the facts. What was said in the complaint? You're making arguments after every statement that you said was made in the complaint. And then you're citing that complaint. So I thought that was interesting with the way that they have this written. Jones also claims a female guest of Mr. Combs attempted to SA him and he pushed her away. Jones further alleges that on an unspecified date on a yacht near the Virgin Islands, a famous actor made advances that Jones rebuffed. I purported screenshot of the encounter showing a smiling Jones seated next to the actor. Jones claims a generalized fear of violence due to Mr. Combs' reputation and alleged ownership of firearms, but alleges no specific threats of violence and fails to connect any threat to any coerced act. The only specific threat that Mr. Combs said he would, eat his face in April 2023. It is not tied to any coerced act. Now, I don't even know what that means. I'm going to eat your face. Like, I have no idea what that means. Jones further claims implausibly that Mr. Combs promised him extravagant gifts, including a Grammy statue, $250,000 to purchase musical instruments, ownership of Mr. Combs' $20 million home, and access to record label executives. The SAC fails to allege any date, location, or context in connection with the claims of the promises. So, yeah, I don't know who would believe that. I mean, maybe the $250,000 for the purchase of the instruments, but like, I'm going to give you my house. That's a wild thing to say and a wild thing to believe. So I'm going to skip the standard of review. It's under a failure to state a claim. They didn't plead facts sufficient enough to state a claim. And honestly, Kimmy, I forgot what the highlights mean. I forgot what they mean so fast. Oh my gosh. Okay, so plaintiffs have failed to state a RICO claim because litigants frequently attempt to transform garden variety fraud or breach of contract cases into RICO claims. The civil provisions of RICOs are the most misused statutes in the federal corpus of law. It's kind of like a catch-all provision that people throw out there. Thus, the courts strive to flesh out frivolous RICO claim allegation at an early stage in the litigation. To state a claim for RICO under the okay, makes sense. To state a claim for, thank you, Kimmy. Get your life together, Bree. To state a claim for RICO, we're going to go through the elements of that because they are alleged, or because Rodney is alleging that there was a RICO enterprise here, that these people colluded and worked together to basically harm him. Okay, which is fine. It's not fine, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so what is the RICO? To state a cause of action under RICO, a plaintiff must plead 7 constituent elements. 1, that the defendant, 2, through the commission of 2 or more acts, 3, constituting a pattern, 4, a racketeering activity, 5, directly or indirectly invests in or maintains an interest in or participates in, 6, an enterprise, and 7, the activity of which affect interstate or foreign commerce. So the defendant has to do some type of act, and it has to be a pattern. So every time they go to Mexico, they buy cocaine. Sorry, Mexico. I don't mean to say y'all have cocaine, but I'm just giving an example here. Every time the defendant goes to Mexico, they buy cocaine, they traffic it across the border. It is a racketeering activity. It's illegal. You can't be doing that. You cannot be doing that, okay? Well, I don't know if I really know what racketeering activity. Oh, maybe you guys work together. You get the cocaine, you pass it to somebody else, all of the things, right? And that you directly or indirectly invest in. So they're basically saying like the companies or the music labels were working with Diddy to do these things. And then also his drug mules, the alleged drug mules, was also working with him. Like everybody was doing it, which created an enterprise, right? Everybody's working together to get this cocaine across the border. And then the activities affect interstate commerce. You're traveling across state lines to get the cocaine to the people that you need to distribute it to. I'm saying cocaine, but they're literally talking about in this one drugs, people, and weapons is what Rodney is claiming the RICO charge has to do with, and apparently also not paying him. I don't know how that is the RICO charge. They're convoluting to not pay him. I mean, I guess getting free work out of someone could affect interstate commerce because now Rodney can't buy a house. I don't know where he's going with that part of the case, but it's there. A RICO plaintiff must also establish standing to sue, which is available only to a person injured in his business or property by the RICO violation. Again, they're selling drugs to other people. Is he really the one being harmed? The phrase business or property excludes both personal injuries suffered and the economic consequence of personal injuries. Applying the standard, the SAC does not come close to stating a sustainable RICO claim. It fails to establish Jones standing to sue, plead a pattern of racketeering activity, or plead the existence of a RICO enterprise. He's basically saying, we're not working with any of these people, and you didn't even name who I'm actually working with to do this alleged racketeering activity. Plaintiff lacks standing. The sole injury to business or property alleged in the SAC is the purported non-payment of services Jones claims he performed on the Love album. SAC alleges no causal connection between these. I cannot read. No causal connection between the injury and any purported RICO predicate act, nor does it allege injury relate. No, nor does this alleged injury relate to the SAC's fantastical RICO narrative. Basically, him not being paid had to be reasonably related to the alleged racketeering activity. Okay, let's see why this doesn't apply here. The SAC alleges injury to Jones' business or property caused by the breach of contract. It contends Jones worked on the Love album as a result of a purported agreement with the defendants. It alleges that Combs' defendants breached the contract by failing to pay Jones, causing him injury. This alleged chain of causation is fatal to Jones' claim because a breach of contract is not a RICO predicate act, and that's supported by case law. Because the SAC has not alleged any injury to Jones' business or property caused by a RICO predicate act, Jones lacks standing to sue, and his RICO claim must be dismissed. They're not working together to make sure that he's not being paid, okay? So there's that. The SAC fails to plausibly plead a pattern of racketeering. I didn't know what racketeering was, so let's read what is a pattern of racketeering. A pattern of racketeering requires two or more predicate acts. Okay. It just kind of tied together two of the alleged element or two of the elements of the rule, which must be related because RICO does not apply to isolated or sporadic criminal acts. The SAC fails to plead any predicate acts. A RICO claim must allege every essential element of the predicate act. So you buy a ticket to Mexico, you fly there, you get there, you go to the cocaine dealer's house. I don't know what to name him. You pick it up. You check it, you buy it, you then go into a different car, and you just, you follow the course of action. In this particular one that Rodney is given, there is no particular thing. It's just, they didn't pay me. Okay. And they also sold drugs and they also traffic weapons and people and all of the things. Okay. The SAC purports to allege predicate acts by loosely referring to the body of the pleading. Throughout this pleading, Mr. Jones has detailed many acts which are prohibited under the statute. Alleged defendants committed 3 or more predicate acts as described in the complaint. This is insufficient as a matter of law. RICO elements cannot be incorporated loosely from a previous narration, but must be tightly particularized and connected in the complaint and parroting statutory language while generally referring to the reader back, and parroting statutory language while generally referring the reader back to the 100 paragraphs in a complaint is inadequate. So essentially, like with the Young Thug trial, they had a gang. You disrespect the gang, they send somebody after you, right? So you actually have to follow a pattern, not just, they told you they were going to be in a contract with you, and then they never paid you. And then they never did this any other time. This is not something that they normally do. They just happened to breach this one contract. It's basically not racketeering, right? This is not like their business model. Oh yeah, come produce for me and then never pay you, right? It's not their business model. Okay, the SAC also fails to allege racketeering acts. First, it fails to properly allege violations of the TVPA, and it impermissibly lumps defendants and events together and loosely incorporates the narrative of the pleading as a whole. Second, although SAC alleges that defendants committed multiple acts of procuring, transporting, and distributing controlled substances, it fails to describe how any federal or state statute was violated. It vaguely cites 18 U.S.C. 1961, which includes a catch-all provision adding to the list of RICO predicates any act or threat involving dealing in a controlled substance, which is chargeable under state law and punishable by imprisonment for more than 1 year. The SAC then string cites a number of state statutes, but never explains what those statutes are, how their elements are satisfied, or why a violation would suffice as a RICO predicate act. The second amended complaint fails to establish the elements of any controlled substance offense because it never alleges for any specific instance of the specific individual, controlled substances, and the amounts of any such controlled substances involved. So if you guys remember in the complaint, he basically said Diddy has a drug mill and they pick up drugs for him. Okay, what kind of drugs? Where do they pick up these drugs? When do they pick up these drugs? How much do these drugs cost? What do they do with the drugs afterwards? I mean, I guess they said they distribute them at the party. But again, how does that affect you, Rodney? How does him selling drugs affect you? You don't have the standing to sue. Did they put it in your... Do you claim that they put it in other people's drinks? Did they put it in your drink? So... sorry, I don't think this one, I was confused of how they even tied this one into the RICO claims, but I don't remember the complaint word for word. So it is an odd thing to say. RICO claims because he sold drugs to other people. Okay, moreover, the sex-specific drug allegations relate to obtaining or transporting drugs for personal use, not dealing as required by the 18 U.S.C. statute. Conclusory inclusion of the words dealing or distributing without any factual support does not satisfy federal pleading standards. Third, the SAC alleges that defendants committed mail and wire fraud. Again, what does that have to do with Rodney? In violation of the statute, to adequately plead mail and wire fraud as predicate acts, the SAC must satisfy the heightened pleading standard under the rule. The SAC alleges defendants placed cash, letters, marketing materials, advertisement, agreements, and other matters in depositories, but never identifies what materials are, when or by whom they were placed in the depository, how they were in any way fraudulent, the nature of any particular defendant's involvement, or whether the individuals involved possess the necessary fraudulent intent. They're mailing stuff. What are they mailing? You're not even telling us what they're mailing, is essentially what they're saying. Such allegations fall short of the minimum pleading requirements under Rule 9b, and therefore a RICO predicate act is not sufficiently stated, and he also doesn't have any standing under to sue for it. Finally, the SAC alleges a hodgepodge of miscellaneous purported misdeeds, including allegations involving firearms, threats, and bribery. While many of those acts are not alleged as part of the racketeering acts in paragraph 237 of the SAC, even if they were, they suffer from the same defects described above. Vague allegations unconnected to elements of any identifiable criminal statute fail to state a RICO predicate act. Further, bragging, making fake promises, and intimidation and harassment are not predicate acts. The SAC fails to plead relatedness or continuity. Why can I not say that? Continuity. Yeah. Even if the SAC alleges cognizable predicate acts, it alleges none, they would not be sufficiently related to comply with the statute's requirement. RICO's relatedness requirement has two components. Predicate acts must be both related to each other, horizontal relatedness, and related to the enterprise as a whole. So these people must all work together to complete this, what they're trying to complete here, which in his opinion is not paying him, selling drugs, trafficking people, and trafficking weapons. How do they all tie together, right? And how do all the people in the enterprise get tied into it? Okay. Let's see. Vertical relatedness requires the defendant was enabled to commit the offense solely because of his position in the enterprise and his involvement in or the control of other enterprise affairs, or because the offense related to the activity enterprise. Because the SAC fails to plausibly plead any enterprise, it cannot meet the requirement. Let's see. The SAC theory of horizontal relatedness, that the racketeering acts all followed the same pattern or purpose to defraud the plaintiff for the defendant's benefit, is nonsensical. This conclusory assertion falls well short of the required relatedness of such disparate allegations as the Chalice Records studio shooting, throwing parties, hiring sex workers, and drug use to the purported goal to defraud. So they're defrauding you by bringing you to these parties to distract you from the fact that they're not going to pay you, is essentially what the argument is. Instead, the SAC's allegation consists of unconnected acts that are patched together as obviously lacking in relatedness as they are calculated to make the pleading as shocking and disparaging as possible. I have to agree with them on that. It literally bears no relation to them not paying him. Whether they want to sell guns and drugs and people have nothing to do with whether or not they're paying him to produce an album. And a lot of the allegations, it's not even like, oh yeah, we're working on the album, and then all of a sudden this party comes into the studio, and now all of a sudden there's guns being thrown across my face and people rubbing on my leg, and now I forgot to ask for my paycheck this week. Like it does not connect at all. It does seem like a way to just kind of get allegations out against Diddy. Now, do I think that Diddy does bad stuff? I do think that Diddy does bad things, but I don't think they relate to Rodney's actual claim. It's kind of like, okay, thank you for giving us the tea, but like, what does this have to do with you kind of situation? Like, why do we need to know? Well, I guess the Homeland Security needed to know so that they can go and raid him. So good job on that. Is he going to get some litigation privilege here? I don't know, because the claims really have nothing to do with him other than the fact that they didn't pay him. But them selling guns allegedly and doing these other things allegedly has nothing to do with them not paying him. So I thought that was interesting. I think that's interesting. The SAC also fails to allege the requisite closed-ended or open-ended continuity. Jones' allegation spans a 1-year period, which is too short for a closed-ended why can I say it? Continuity. This court has never found a closed-ended pattern where the predicate acts span fewer than 2 years. So you have to be building up, like, you got to be El Chapo out here, right? Building up. But 1 year of building up is not enough. You might quit on month 11th. We don't know. You might quit on month 15. But if you're building this enterprise, it has to be years and years. Is basically what the court is saying. Nor does the SAC, or not what the court is saying, what Diddy's attorneys are saying, nor does the SAC allege open-ended continuity, which requires a threat of continued criminal activity. To the contrary, the SAC pleads the RICO activities concluded in November 2023, shortly after the release of the Love album. They just never paid him, right? That's where we get to. They never paid him. Next part, the SAC fails to plausibly plead an enterprise. The SAC attempts to establish that Combs' RICO enterprise is also deficient. To establish an enterprise via association, in fact, plaintiff must allege a hierarchy, organization, and activities sufficient to show that the members function as a unit. Further, plaintiffs must allege that the members of an enterprise share a common legal sufficient purpose. The SAC utterly fails to meet these requirements. Plaintiff alleged no discernible hierarchy, organization, or activity from which to conclude that the alleged members function as a unit. At the most specific, the SAC lists several individuals and their purported roles in the alleged sex-related, drug-related, and weapon-related activities. Remember, Diddy has a drug mule, and he picks up drugs. Okay, and what's next, right? But these paragraphs leave out Love Records and UMG defendants, and the SAC does not provide a coherent explanation of the overall membership of the alleged enterprise and how the members function as a unit. Again, Diddy has a drug mill, and they go get drugs, and then maybe they give it to people at the parties. But what does the record labels have to do with that? They're basically saying they know that Diddy goes out and get drugs with the drug mill, and they pay for the drugs. Like, what are we alleging here? Instead, it provides a long list of purported members without any allegations describing a structure. Therefore, a proper enterprise is not stated. Further, the SAC fails to identify a cognizable purpose. Each of the 6 purposes claimed in the SAC is deficient. Controlling person to force them to purchase, transport, or distribute illegal firearms and drugs impermissibly conflates an enterprise's purpose with the alleged pattern of racketeering cited in a case. Enhancing an enterprise status with respect to rival music labels, artists, and executives, and protecting the power, territory, and criminal ventures is deficient because the SAC does not allege any rival or territory of any labels, artists, or executives. Like, are we beefing, Tupac and Biggie? No, he doesn't even allege that. And enriching the members and associates of the enterprise is insufficient because advancing self-interest cannot serve as a purpose as a matter of law. making Diddy more famous, making Diddy more popular. That's not, it doesn't fall under the enterprise. Why do these labels care about making Diddy individually more popular, essentially? Literally concealing the activities of the enterprise from law enforcement and keeping victims in fear are not RICO's purposes, but instead the means by which to accomplish them. These are, in any event, little more than naked assertions devoid of further factual enhancements without any discernible structure or purpose. The SAC fails to allege a RICO enterprise. I have to agree with them. I do have to agree with Diddy on that. There's nothing kind of tying this all together other than the being salacious. What does them selling drugs and guns have to do with not paying you, right? And feel free to drop in the comments. Let me know if I'm missing something here. Okay. Are they doing bad things? Yes. If the allegations are true, they are doing bad things. But does it have anything to do with Rodney's lawsuit? Probably not. I mean, I guess he's alleging infliction of emotional distress because he had to see you sell guns. I guess. Sure. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think he has standing still. I still don't think he has standing to sue for that, right? So let's go on. Plaintiff has failed to state a claim, a TVPA claim. The plaintiff has failed to plead the primary claim under TVPA. Where does it tell me what TVPA? It's a trafficking law, but okay. So the TVPA provides for liability against a defendant who knowingly and in interstate or foreign commerce recruits, entices, harbors, transport, provides, obtains, advertises, maintains, patronizes, or solicits by any means a person knowing or in reckless disregard of the fact that means of force, threats of force, fraud, coercion will be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act, forcing someone to do sexy time for money and they don't want to, right? Or not that they don't want to, but you're forcing them to do it. The commercial sex act is defined as a sex act on account of which anything of value is given or received by any person. Jones does not allege he was forced or coerced to engage in any sex act within this definition. So he was not the one being paid. He was not the one being told, hey, go make this money, right? Why is he suing under that? Basically, they're saying he's not a victim of this. He might have benefited from the victimization of other people, but he is not a victim of this, right? The bulk of Jones' allegation concerning sex trafficking relate to unidentified persons other than Jones who engaged in unspecified acts on unspecified dates, purportedly under pressure from the unspecified defendants. I agree with them on this point. A lot of his allegations do have to do with other people, and he can say he had to go and solicit them, and he was a part of the racketeering to go get people, right? But is he being forced to entice those people? I think he would have had to pull out a little bit more facts to support it. And of course, this is coming from Diddy's position, so maybe there are more facts. I don't remember that 100-page third complaint word by word, right? Let's see. Jones lacks standing to pursue TVPA claim based on these allegations, and any cause of action based on witnessing such acts fell because TVPA confers standing only upon trafficking victims. Basically saying he's not the victim, so he can't sue under the statute. Although the SAC alleges that Jones solicited women he presumably paid for sex, these allegations cannot support a TVPA claim because Jones does not allege he was compelled to do so by force, fraud, or coercion. So he basically was like, Diddy wanted me to do this, so I did it. And although Jones alleges in conclusory terms that he was forced to have sex with sex workers through Mr. Combs' power and influence, the SAC fails to allege how such force was applied in any particular instance. Such vague allegations fall well short of the federal pleading standards. You can't have a conclusory statement. Because no specific threat is casually linked to any sex act involving Jones, his allegations of a generalized fear of Mr. Combs fail to establish force or coercion under the TVPA. The only specific allegation of an arguable threat of violence is Mr. Combs' purported statement to Mr. Jones that he would eat his face. Again, I don't know what that means. What does eating someone's face mean? If anyone knows in the chat, let me know. What does eating someone's face mean? What is it? That's weird. Weird, if anything, but I don't know if I would take it as a threat. This statement is not alleged to have been made in connection with any sex act, and it post-dates nearly all of Jones' alleged solicitation of sex workers. Vague allegations that Mr. Combs flaunted firearms and boasted of previous criminal exploits and power over law enforcement are similarly disconnected from any sex act. It's not like they said, go out there and get those sex workers, because if you don't, I know somebody that can take care of you, right? He's not saying stuff like that, or at least that's not what's being pled in the complaint. Jones claims that Mr. Combs promised gifts, financial benefits, and professional advancements. Similarly, failed to establish that any sex acts by Mr. Jones were procured by fraud or coercion. None of these facially implausibly promises a Grammy Award and ownership of $20 million property in Miami and $250,000 to buy musical instruments and access to record label executives were allegedly made to induce any sex act, not go sleep with that prostitute and I'll give you $250,000. That's what Diddy is alleging, or that's what his argument is. Moreover, the notion that Mr. Combs was willing to provide millions of dollars in rewards to his record producer if only he would have sex with sex workers is so implausible that it cannot satisfy the TVPA's reasonability requirement. Like, you don't think he's going to give you a house because you slept with a sex worker. And that's what their argument is. Which makes sense. Claims this outlandish also fails to meet the general requirement that the pleading is plausible. Woo. Reading is hard, guys. Jones' failures to plead a plausible causal connection between any sexual or any commercial sex act and any means of force or coercion is fatal to his claim. Generalized allegations about statements made incidental to the sex act made for a reason other than to bring about the act are not enough. Finally, Jones' allegations of purported sexual or SA against him by Mr. Combs, Young Miami's cousin, and Cuba Gooding Jr. are irrelevant to his TVPA claim because they do not allege commercial sex acts. Jones does not allege anything of value was given or received by any person in connection with the alleged assaults. Miami's cousin just wanted to get with him. Apparently, Cuba just wanted to get with him, and apparently Diddy just wanted to get with him, but he was not offered anything in these alleged sexual advances. Plaintiffs have failed to plead TVPA claim against Combs Global. The SAC fails to allege any direct or indirect claim that Combs Global against Combs Global under the statute. The party may be indirectly liable for TVPA violation only if it benefits financially or by receiving anything of value from participation in the venture that has committed the primary violation. Participation in venture requires a showing of knowingly assisting, supporting, or facilitating a violation. Because there are no allegations that Combs Global participated in or benefited from any alleged sex act involving Jones, the TVPA claim against it must be dismissed. Again, I don't know if he pled it enough for just himself, right? I can definitely see how him saying, oh, well, I was forced to do it. I don't know. You get to work on the album. If you go and sleep with this person, you get to work on the album. He did go out and solicit the women. He admitted to that. You have to go do this or I'm going to kick you off the album. He didn't allege any of those things. So if those things did happen, that would have been important to put in the document. But feeling like he had to do it or else he might lose his job with no other indication. I don't think I remember once in the complaint of anyone telling him you gonna lose your job for any reason. He didn't allege that at all. So I don't know if he could really say, oh, well, I did it because I thought if I didn't do it, I would lose my job. And heck, he wasn't being paid anyway. So shoot, I don't know. Jones fails to state a SA claim against Mr. Combs. The second cause of action against Mr. Combs purports to allege combined claims of SA and SH. The two vague paragraphs, Jones asserts his experience constant, unsolicited, and unauthorized groping and touching of his anus. The SAC fails to allege essential facts, such as where, when, and how the purported misconduct, or even any conversation about, report of, or witness to any particular occurrence. Not only does this render plaintiff's claim implausible on its face, it provides insufficient notice of the claim to Mr. Combs, warranting their dismissal. He did describe that there was an incident when Diddy was in the shower, right? Made him come in there with a shower. But then it kind of jumps to all of a sudden his anus is being touched. And I'm just like, well, how did you get from him being in the shower to then your anus being touched? But then they go on to give examples of cases where they just said like general, oh, they touched my genitals or they did this to me, is not enough as to state a claim that you were assaulted. You need to give details. Although we don't want to know the details, the court and Diddy needs to know the details so that he can properly respond to the allegations, right? The fourth and fifth cause of action against Mr. Combs purport to allege claims for premise liability involving two incidents of purported SA, first by Jane Doe 1 on November 24, 2022 at Combs' Miami residence, and second by a famous actor on an unspecified date aboard a chartered yacht at the sea somewhere in the U.S. Virgin Islands. For premise liability, you have to prove negligence and ownership of the land ownership of the person that you're trying to sue. The SAC does not plead any breach of duty pertaining to either alleged assault because it does not allege they were foreseeable. Plaintiff's failure to allege facts given rise to a plausible inference that the purported assaults were foreseeable by Mr. Combs. So in order, like we talked about earlier, in order to be liable for something that someone else, a third party, did, you have to have some type of control over that person. And you must know that it's likelihood that they would do it. Now, if every time you invite Mr. Cuba Gooding Jr. to your house, he's grabbing people's inner thigh, or we'll leave it at inner thigh, right? Then you are put on knowledge that every time Cuba comes to your house, he's grabbing people's inner thigh. So if he grabs someone's inner thigh and you sitting there laughing about it, you knew about it, then you should be liable. Diddy is saying he could not have reasonably suspected that Cuba was going to be doing this, and we'll get into why he say that he couldn't expect that. As to Jane Doe 1, the SAC does not allege, even in conclusory terms, that Mr. Combs knew or should have known about her tortious propensity. As to the famous actor, the SAC relies upon a November 22nd, 2023 article concerning his alleged unwanted advances towards women for the conclusory assertion that the actor has a storied history of SA and forcibly touching individuals. The article was published nearly a year after the alleged assault, and the SAC includes no facts to support an inference that Mr. Combs knew about the actor's claimed propensity prior to the alleged incident. These deficiencies are fatal. So yes, there were articles that came out about Cuba. I think he actually was found guilty in a case for being inappropriate with people. But what Diddy is saying, arguing, is that this came out after the alleged incidences. So maybe Diddy didn't know about that at the time that he let Cuba come over. Let's see. To the contrary, the only plausible inference from the SAC's allegation, including the photograph of the encounter that shows a grinning Jones seated next to the actor, is that Mr. Combs had no reason to suspect the actor had any propensity to make unwanted sexual advances towards Jones. The premise liability claims fail for the additional reason that the SAC does not allege Mr. Combs exercised sufficient control. You have to basically show that the defendant had control over the person that was doing the acts. Finally, the SAC does not plead the facts. The SAC does not plead the facts sufficient to show damages relating to either purported assault, as it alleges plaintiff rebuffed an attempted tortfeasors. The SAC alleges that the root legalese that plaintiff generally suffered physical injury, severe emotional distress, humiliation, anxiety, and other consequential damages, which fails to specify any actual physical or emotional injury. You can't just say, I was emotionally damaged, just like we saw in Baby Reindeer. You actually have to, I was emotionally damaged. It caused me to go through 2 years of therapy to resolve my issues, and I'm still dealing with the issues. It cost me this much money to do it. You have to be specific about what injuries were caused to you because of this. Now, every time that I see a person that looked like Cuba, I dwindle in fear or whatever it may be, right? The emotional distress claim against Mr. Combs fell. The SAC fails to state a claim for negligent infliction of emotional distress. They say that it should be dismissed as duplicative because it is premised on the same allegations as a host of traditional torts in the SAC, including assault and premise liability. This ninth cause of action, even if not duplicative, is sufficiently pled while purportedly based upon instances of SA. It fails to identify which alleged SA it is based on, much less pleads facts supporting the existence of a duty owed by Mr. Combs or identify the nature of the source of the duty purportedly breached. What duty does he have not to make Rodney feel uncomfortable through third parties, right? What duty does he have to make sure that Rodney doesn't see him selling guns? How is he liable to him, right? Absent such allegations, Mr. Combs lacks the most basic notice about the nature of the claim. If based on an assault allegedly perpetrated by Mr. Combs, it fails because a negligent distress claim cannot be premised on such misconduct. And if premised on negligence in connection with specific assaults allegedly perpetrated by Jane Doe and the famous actor, it fails for the reasons discussed in section 4. Okay. So he's basically saying that he can't succeed on the negligent emotional distress claims because Diddy don't even know what he's talking about. Rodney's just going around saying that Diddy is groping his anus. But when, where, how, when did I do these things? So I can't even respond to it, is what Diddy's saying. And then for Cuba and Jane Doe, Young Miami's cousin, he's not responsible for those people. He has no control of what those third parties are doing, and it was not foreseeable that they would do those things. Okay. The SAC fails to allege intentional infliction of emotional distress. They fail to state that it was extreme and outrageous, as assessed in Section 3. The SAC fails to identify any actionable acts of SA by Mr. Combs against Jones, and nondescript touching is not outrageous under the high bar of intentional distress claims. The SAC also fails to allege intent or injury, relying instead on bald assertions that Mr. Combs acted with the intent to cause or disregard for the substantial probability of causing severe emotional distress, and that plaintiff has suffered severe emotional distress, which is inadequate. You have to tell us why, right? The breach of oral contract claims. Remember, Jones is saying that they had a contract that Diddy was supposed to pay him all this money from royalties for producing the album. And Diddy is going to go on to say there was no contract, right? There's no contract. So the plaintiff's breach of contract claim is barred by the statute of frauds because any contract that cannot be performed within a year is unenforceable unless in writing. Plaintiff contends that the purported oral agreement for music services involved payment to him of royalty points in perpetuity. As the alleged perpetual obligations cannot be performed within a year, it is barred by the statute of frauds. Basically saying that if he was supposed to get royalties forever, that can never be completed within a year, and we do not assume that the person is going to die within a year. So this contract that he's claiming he was owed money under should have been in writing, right? The royalty component cannot be severed to salvage the other terms of the alleged oral contract. Jones' breach of contract claims also fail because the SAC fails to allege that the parties mutually assented to a certain indefinite proposition and left no essential terms open. Again, with something being oral, it's more than likely than not you don't have an agreement. Everyone does not know exactly what everyone's talking about. That's why you write it down. That is why you write your contract down, okay? The SAC's vague, inconsistent, and conclusory allegations fall well short of meeting this requirement. It fails to describe the essential terms of the alleged oral agreement, leaving out even the specific services Jones agreed to perform, and does not allege that Love Records ever agreed to or breached any terms. Accordingly, the oral contract must be dismissed. You didn't even say what you were supposed to do in the contract. I do know that he put that he was supposed to produce songs on there, but how many songs? What are the length of the songs? Does he have like a creative control over it? It's missing a lot of the claims. So they asked for the whole complaint to be dismissed with prejudice so that Rodney could not bring it back. I do think that his attorneys made some good points. It was a lot of missing information. Now, did they give us a lot of information? Yes, they did. But they gave us a lot of information on things that are probably not relevant to the claims. I do agree with the premise liability as far as him needing to be able to foresee that something bad was going to happen with Cuba and Young Miami's cousin. I do see that he also didn't have control over them. As far as the claims for the SA, case law says that you have to be more than general groping or whatever. You have to say, hey, on or about June 21st, I was in the shower and he came in and did what he did, right? So I definitely understand where they're coming from on the allegations. I don't know if the entire complaint will be dismissed. The thing about it is I believe that you can only do 3 complaints. After this, like, this is your last chance to get it right. And I don't think that the court is going to give them permission to try to amend this again, because I do think that it was 100 pages of information that doesn't really relate to the claims. Did we enjoy reading it on the live stream? Yes, of course. Enjoyed reading it. We love the tea. We love the information. But Diddy's not wrong. A lot of the information does not actually tie together to state a claim against him for some of the stuff like the RICO and everything. So I don't think that he's going to be able to have leave to amend. So I do think that a lot of it gets dismissed. I just don't know if all of it gets dismissed, because remember, we read this 100-page complaint long time ago, right? Diddy is condensing it down to 25 pages to make his arguments. And of course, he's going to leave out things that are not beneficial to him, like the part about the shooting being done right in front of Rodney and everything. So, and then I think I saw like a 9th claim, a 9th cause of action being dismissed, but he only had 6 points. So, like I said, I don't remember everything. So I don't know if there were some other parts of the complaint that are still standing. But in this one, they're asking to dismiss the whole thing because these particular allegations sucked, for lack of a better word. So I am going to go ahead and jump into the chat. Let me know what y'all think so far and what your opinions are of the points that Diddy is making. And no, we're not going, we just don't like Diddy, right? Let me know if you think the legal basis as to why they're asking for the complaint to be dismissed is actually adequate. Is it relevant? Is it sufficient to you? Do you think that this is going to be dismissed based on what Diddy and the record labels were arguing? And I have to say for myself, I don't see how the record labels are included in this. Like, even if it doesn't get dismissed against Diddy, I think it has to be dismissed against the record labels, right? So let's go ahead and jump into the chat and see what y'all have to say. We are currently at 26 likes with 18 people watching live. So if you haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm. It helps us get more friends. And our like goal is 65 likes because we reached for the stars today. So again, if you haven't hit the like button, please do. Thank you, Kimmy, for starring the chat so that we can get to all of the relevant chats quickly. We got Deacon Fatal saying, why the YSL trial? The defense came out swinging. Okay, so they're already on the defense, but also we are also entering into September. So geez Louise, that's good to know. Deacon Fatal says, I follow some lawyers that are from Fulton County, and the YSL trial sounds like a hot mess. I wouldn't be able to sit through it. They already switched judges, okay, in the middle of the freaking trial. So I can only imagine how much of a mess it is. Justin to be says, first thing my attorney told me re my work comp case was not to post anything on social media. Exactly. Don't even be out in front of your house gardening at this point, you know? Everyone's watching. There is always someone watching you. So yes, of course. I don't know why he would post that on Twitter. Kristen at first says, yeah, not the smartest move. No, Not the best move if you have a case going on. If you just want to talk mess and you don't have a lawsuit going on, just talk mess and don't have a lawsuit going on. But if you have a lawsuit going on that the defense has not even responded to yet, and you're out here threatening folks on the Twitter, don't do that. Just don't do it. Deacon Fatal says, okay, can the state bring up more witnesses, and can his ex-wife books be used? Porter? Probably not. I don't see how it will relate to Rodney Jones, because Rodney wasn't working with them at the time. Like at that point, you're asking for character propensity. What do you call it? Not character. It's character witnesses, right? When we don't really need that. We need what happened to Rodney when Rodney was there, right? Kim Porter's book would be too old. Deacon Fatal says Grammy statues cost like $15. Go buy one on Amazon. Go buy one on Amazon. Kimmy Locker says to Deacon Fatal, yeah, I don't know why they said Grammy statue, because I'm pretty sure Little Rod said, did he promise him an actual Grammy, which is also absurd. That is probably what it said, Kimmy. I didn't even realize that they were saying a Grammy statue. So like they were just going to give him statue. Like he was just gonna go get one off his counter and say, here, Rodney, have my Grammy for something that you didn't even work on. So that is a good point. I didn't even catch on to that. Deacon Fatal says to Kimmy, that's a really weird thing to say. I can promise you that isn't how it works. I think Kimmy is right, is that, oh, we're gonna win a Grammy with what we're producing, right? Deacon Fatal says, could you defend him? Could I defend who? Diddy? I'm not defending him. I'm just saying they're making good points. Do I think they're doing good things? No, absolutely not. Deacon Fatal says, or a better question, would you defend him? No judgment here. If I don't handle cases like this, for one. I don't handle cases like this. But if the case comes and you have good arguments, I have to argue cases that I don't want to argue all the time. I don't pick my cases. I work for someone. So if it came forward and I had to make the arguments, I would. I do think that his attorneys are making good arguments for a failure to state a claim. And that's what you have to do as an attorney. But would I voluntarily represent Diddy? No. You're not about to be trafficking me, allegedly. If I don't do what you want. Deacon Fatal says, goodness, it's been this long. I'm okay with this. Yeah, it's been a while. Gifted 5 Boss Attorney memberships. Thank you very much. Oh, was that the one? Okay. I think it said that Deacon Fatal had been, I'm sorry, it wasn't showing on my end, the members. What is it? Like the member badge wasn't showing on my end. But Deacon Fatal has been a member for 26 months. So shout out to Deacon Fatal. And also thank you for the 5 Boss Attorney Bree memberships that you gifted. Definitely appreciate it. And welcome to all the new BriHive members. Thanks to Deacon Fatal. Deacon Fatal says, I do actually have to fall asleep. To homework stuff. Thank you for covering this case, because I'm still heated about this one. Take care all and drink water because it's hot. Yes, thank you very much. Deacon Fatal, we appreciate you stopping by. Like I said, I do think that they made good points. Do I think they're doing good things? No, but the lawyers are lawyering. I have to give it that. Deacon Fatal says it's a cult. It's a cult. Kimmy Lockett says, using an article that came out after the fact is so lazy. And I didn't even think about that when we were reading the actual complaint. Like, that is absolutely insane to be like, he knew because a year later it came out that he was a weirdo. Like, okay, that don't mean I knew he was a weirdo before, but allegedly Diddy is his own weirdo, so maybe he hangs out with weirdo people is what Rodney was going for, but I don't know if it can work like that. Kimmy Lockett says, I know when and where is important legally, but I mostly want to know how anus gets groped, because I didn't think that's how that worked. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I've never heard that phrase. Do we want to know all the details? No. Do we want you to describe how your anus is groped? Yes. Because like, you either have to have, never mind. I was going to get too deep into some stuff that I didn't need to get deep into. Like Rodney Jones's butt. I'm sorry, y'all. That's not funny. But yes, y'all get what I'm saying. No, you don't get what I'm saying, because it's just a lot of words going on in my head that I can't say out loud on the internet. So, yes, we want to know, but at the same time, we don't want to know, right, Kimmy? Just Stacy says, can they use videos from the raids on Diddy's house in court? What would they be using the videos for? Okay, because again, if Diddy traffics weapons, if Diddy sells drugs, if Diddy gives drugs to minors, how does that affect Rodney? What gives Rodney the basis to sue? Emotional distress? No, I don't think so. Constantly putting him in a toxic work environment? Maybe, but he didn't sue for that. So I don't see how the videos would be beneficial. Now, if the videos catch Diddy telling Cuba Gooding to go touch Rodney Jones's inner thigh, then yeah, they could use those videos if they find it. But if it doesn't have anything to do with Rodney's claims, I don't see how they would be relevant. They would be immediately objected to as being irrelevant. And as we see, these lawyers did not come to play. They're calling out every single issue that they saw wrong with that complaint, right? So I just don't see what relevance those videos would have. Christopher says, and all the pictures of every single person that was named. Yes, all the pictures. They did use a lot of pictures in the complaint. And he likes to do that in his complaints for whatever reason. Tyrone Blackburn. Timmy Lockett says, I don't remember all of the claims, but I think Diddy's attorney did a pretty good job. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets tossed. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I don't remember all the claims, so maybe they didn't cover everything, but also at least, I don't know why my hair is sticking up crazy like that. It looked like I've been shocked. What's going on with my hair? Yeah, they did pull up a lot of good points. Their lawyers were lawyering. I will give them that. Does it mean Diddy's a good person? No, we are not saying that on this channel, okay? But the lawyers are for sure lawyering. I can give them that. I do think a lot of it gets tossed. I don't know if everything gets tossed just because I don't remember everything. Okay, what I was going to say says, oh, it can happen. Like, have you seen Baby Reindeer? Which part of, oh, the groping of the anus? Kimmy Lockett says, I thought that was cheeks. Yeah, like I could see groping butts. Groping butts, that's very easy. I understand what that means. But like groping your anus, like to me, your butt cheek should cover that, right? I don't know. I don't want to go into that. I'm sorry. Let's move on. Yeah. Maybe like poke in the anus. I think that could work. But groping the anus is wild. Like I don't know how that happens, nor do I want to know how it happens. But also, he needed to state it in the lawsuit according to Diddy and his attorneys. And I think that the judge would agree with them. Like, he used to grope me. Okay, when, where, how? Did he grope you 50 years ago or was it like last week? When did he grope you, right? So I do think that, in conclusion, I do think that Diddy's attorneys and the label records attorneys did a really good job at pointing out not the inconsistencies, but the failure to state a claim. I don't think that they have any basis to sue the record label. I don't like witnessing other people be put into situations. I don't know if that supports an emotional distress claim. It does seem like it was just a way to get out the tea. Do we appreciate the tea? Do we like the tea? We love to hear the tea, but I don't think he has the standing to sue for those things. Now, if other people came out and said, yes, I was at Diddy's party and they drugged me, then yes, absolutely sue. Just like the girl suing the son because she's saying that she was actually drugged, not that she saw someone drug her friend. Like, you know, and he's not even saying my friend. He's just saying I saw minors getting drugged and I thought it was wrong, but I still continue to go to the parties. Now I'm looking at you funny because why did you still decide that's where you wanted to work? I don't get it. Anyways, I think that the lawyers lawyered. I think Diddy is still not the best person, but his lawyer's lawyer. So that's all I can say about that. Let's go ahead and jump into Richard Gadd. No more Rodney Jones, but we're now on Richard Gadd. His declaration regarding the Baby Reindeer lawsuit. So here we go. Okay, y'all. So we are jumping into the baby reindeer lawsuit. Again, if y'all haven't hit the like button, please do. It does help us out in the algorithm and gets us more friends and everything like that. But anyways, if you don't know what we're talking about, Baby Reindeer was a Netflix series and also a stand-up comedy show in which Richard Gadd portrayed himself, but named himself Donnie, and then told a story about a stalker that was stalking him. And the woman who believed this stalker character was based on her decided to sue Netflix because they didn't allow her to tell her story. She's also claiming defamation. She wasn't really that bad. She was bad, but she wasn't that bad. And she wants money, right? Netflix, why did you tell this story in the way that you told it and told everybody that it was a true story? Netflix came back and said, no, we didn't tell people it was a true story. We had disclaimers saying that this has been dramatized and characters have been changed and all of these things, and it's not supposed to reflect a real person. A lot of it is fictionalized, is what Netflix is saying that they said. And I haven't watched the series I still haven't watched it, but I can believe it. I can believe that they put this as a dramatization or whatever it may be at the beginning of the episodes. Now, Richard Gadd, in support of his motion to dismiss, which is going to be happening on September 3rd. So I misspoke last week when I said it will be this week. But on September 3rd, they have a hearing to determine whether this case is going to be dismissed. Richard Gadd wrote this declaration, or maybe his attorneys wrote it on his behalf. He signed off on it, but wrote this declaration in support of his motion to dismiss. So we're going to go through the things that Richard Gadd has to say. I am going to summarize the first part of it because it's a lot of words, and I really don't have that many reading words left in my tank right now. So essentially, he is the writer of the show Baby Reindeer. He also performed it as a stand-up comedy show. He also has another story that he performed called Monkey See, Monkey Do, that was performed, I believe, as a stand-up show in maybe a dramatic series or whatever it was. But he basically says that Monkey See, Monkey Do, and Baby Reindeer were similar in that he based it on real facts in his life and real incidences in his life, but he also made it fictional and dramatized it to make it more of a compelling story. So yes, it's based on something true, but also I changed it a little bit so that I can basically profit off of it. No, it was not intended to reflect the people in the stories, but intended to basically like creatively tell his own story, is what he said. So let's get into the Baby Reindeer series. The series, which was released on Netflix on April 11, 2024, is based on aspects of the Baby Reindeer stage production, which was like the stand-up comedy show. The series reprises characters, scenes, and dialogue from the theater version of Baby Reindeer and is a continuation of my exploration of SA. Manipulation, exploitation, obsession, sexual identity, self-loathing, self-destruction, and self-discovery. Way to be accountable. My personal struggles with my sexual identity and experiences with SA, harassment, and stalking inspired me to write and star in the theater version of Baby Reindeer and subsequently the series. The series is a dramatic work. It is not a documentary or an attempt at realism. While the series is based on my life and my real life event and is at its core emotionally true, it is not a beat by beat recounting of the events and emotions I experienced as they transpired. It is fictional. It is not intended to portray any actual facts. While the series is my emotionally true story, as I recall and recount, it is not intended to depict any real persons. Instead, I created fictionalized characters, including Martha and Donnie, which were foils to aid my exploration of my own experiences and trauma. I intentionally used characters that did not share the actual names of any person from my life and wrote fictionalized dialogue and scenes. Each of the characters from the series has some imagined personality traits and events that I specifically selected to make them useful as dramatic devices. So, overly explaining the fact that this is fictional, dude. This is not based on you. I know, Fiona, you want to think this is about you, but this song is not about you. Okay, the show is not about you, is what he's trying to say. I I used my experience to craft Martha, a character specifically to both feed into Donnie's desperate need for attention and self-esteem issues and challenge him in ways that make him confront his past abuse and its effects on him. The Donnie character is intended to be both a pitiable protagonist and at times his own antagonist. Donnie is also meant to provide a point of comparison for Martha, and when the series concludes, my hope was that the audience would recognize that neither of them was truly the aggressor nor the victim. To further reaffirm for the audience how those characters are more alike than different, I chose to end the series with Donnie sitting at a pub crying and the bartender giving him a drink for free, precisely how Donnie first met Martha. The series is not a documentary representing literally true details and imagery. It is a fictionalized retelling of my emotional journey through several extremely traumatic real experiences. It's not about you, Fiona. It is an expression of my views of stalking, harassment, and SA, told through the lens of my own experiences, emotions, and self-reflections. I did not write the series as a representation of actual facts about any real person, including Fiona Harvey. Harvey is never mentioned in the series. Real life experiences with Fiona. Fiona, since you want to make it about you, Richard is about to tell all your business. That's what he's about to do. He's about to tell all your business, okay? But the show's not about you, but also you did cause some emotional turmoil in my life. So let's see. In 2014, I met Harvey at a pub where I worked at the time, the Holly Arms. I noticed that Harvey looked distressed and offered her a cup of tea on the house. On noticing each other's accents, we engaged in what I took at the time as a friendly conversation and discussed our common Scottish heritage. Following the first meeting, Harvey subsequently stalked and harassed me throughout 2014 and through 17. She frequently appeared at the pub. It quickly became clear that she had memorized my shift pattern by hanging around the pub constantly. She would then arrive just before my shift started on most days I was working and sit at the end of the bar. She would also call the pub constantly on days when I was not working to check if I was in. This went on for a very long period of time. Sometimes she would stay for my entire shift. Other times she would stay a few hours. Sometimes she would just say something and abruptly leave. So once this declaration is being put out here, he's under litigation privilege. He can tell this story. It's his truth. And he's able to tell it how he wants to. But for those of you that actually watch Baby Reindeer, you will probably notice, and I'm talking like I watched it, but you will probably notice that it's not the exact rendition of what happened in Baby Reindeer, but it's a close similar, right? But he can tell his story how he wants it. He can make it into a fictional story if he wants to. It's essentially what this lawsuit is going to be about. Harvey's behavior quickly grew concerning for me. What started out as someone sitting at the end of the bar and chatting most days turned into her directly impacting my ability to work, interjecting as I tried to serve tables, and talking to most customers I served at the bar. She would often try to engage with me by repeatedly trying to make jokes or banter. She would tell customers of the pub that I was a comedian and sometimes adopt smutty innuendos to try and embarrass me in front of staff. At first, I engaged with Harvey in her jokes, viewing her as harmless, but it soon became exhausting, and I quickly grew frustrated at her continual and unrelenting presence in my work life. When Harvey was around, I had my guard up. There was a particularly intense period of time when Harvey often attempted to touch me inappropriately and sometimes sexual ways. Harvey pinched and touched various parts of my body, including my bum, and was generally very handsy towards me. Sounds similar to Rodney Jones, except he's not saying she directly touched his anus. The attention was unwelcome, and I found myself constantly trying to dodge Harvey's advances and unwanted physical contact while serving tables. I did ask Harvey to leave me alone and to refrain from making advances towards me on several occasions. However, she ignored my request, and as with her wider behavior, she was persistent and relentless. Around March 2015, Harvey became increasingly hostile towards me and others at the Holly Arms. Matters escalated when I confronted Harvey in the pub for falsely telling one of the regulars that we had sex, which she took badly. On one occasion, Harvey mentioned to a customer at the bar that at the bar a bad review about me, which she had seen online. I retorted by referring to news coverage I had seen regarding Harvey's harassment of former member of parliament Jimmy Ray and his wife Laura Ray. She briefly left the pub. When she re-entered, I was sitting on a wooden chair in the corner to the right of the bar, crouched down by the condiment cupboards, marrying up the ketchup. Harvey came behind the bar to where I was standing and shoved me in the back of the neck. I turned to find her chastising me whilst pointing in my face. I remember that she referred to the comedian Frankie Boyle's mouth having got him into trouble, and she said that my mouth would get me into trouble too. She was furious, and I found her demeanor intimidating. I remember quickly apologizing out of fear she was going to hit me, as well as embarrassment at the fact that a number of customers nearby was looking over. She subsequently stormed out of the pub and repeated that my mouth was going to get me in trouble as she left. The interaction was threatening, but I was also embarrassed and angry that she had affronted me in such a physical and public manner. So it seems like her behavior is definitely escalating, according to Richard, regarding his experience with her. As matters escalated, Harvey's visit to the pub became increasingly intense. At times, I would hide in the basement or on a balcony in hopes that she would grow bored and leave the pub. I was scared of Harvey and what she might be capable of, particularly having seen the articles about her behavior towards the Rays online. If you don't remember, the Rays ended up having to get like a silent alarm in their office because to protect their employees, and just in case Harvey came in, right? Let's see. A lot of the staff were intimidated by her too and tried to adopt different measures to get her to leave me alone so as not to escalate things further. For example, staff would tell her that I was not working, so she would leave or pretend that I had left the Holly's arms. Nothing deterred her, and I remember long shifts where I would sit on the balcony or in the basement for hours waiting for her to leave. Harvey sometimes waited outside the pub for me to finish work. She also followed me around town, sometimes very close to where I live, and she attended many of my comedy and theater performances. Often when I posted about a performance online, usually on Twitter, Harvey would then turn up and occasionally be disruptive. On one occasion, I was appearing in a show at Aces and Eights in London in July 2016, when before the show started, the producer spotted Harvey in the audience. The producer subsequently went around the audience and told everyone other than Harvey that we would be pretending the show had been canceled, but that they could return in 10 minutes later. Just to get Harvey to leave, I was then excuse me, y'all. I'm having like issues with my nose. I was then catching some fresh air when on leaving the venue, Harvey confronted me about canceling the show. Another member of the producer team had to stand between me and Harvey, who was becoming increasingly animated towards me. In addition, I have always had to put extensive measures in place to stop Harvey from attending my shows, including at venues like Soho Theater and the Bush Theater, as well as involving producing partners Burke's Nest and Francesca Moody Productions to help manage the situation. Around July 2014, Harvey obtained my email address from my personal website, which at the time included my contact details to facilitate inquiries and bookings for comedy performances. Harvey emailed me relentlessly throughout all hours of the day and night. She would sometimes send emails at 2 a.m. or 4 a.m., and at times she would send multiple emails in a single day. I never engaged with, responded to, or referred to Harvey's emails because I feared it would only make matters worse if she knew for certain that I had been receiving them. Oh my gosh, it just gets worse. It just gets worse and it keeps going on. Okay, Harvey sent me thousands of emails, hundreds of voicemails, and a number of handwritten letters. These communications often included sexually explicit, violent, and derogatory comment, hateful speech, and threats. The emails and voicemails attached to this declaration represent just a fraction of those I received from Harvey. Most of the emails referenced in this declaration were provided to the police. Below, I provided some examples of the type of emails I received from Harvey. And so I am going to read some of what his interpretation of the emails are, right? Because that's who's writing it. He's the one interpreting it. And then I'm probably going to skip around a little bit because it's a lot. It's a lot. This thing is 21 pages and we are only on page 8. of it, okay? And a lot of it is going to be the emails. So let's go ahead and see kind of how we start off. And he does kind of jump around in regards to timeline. Okay. Harvey regularly monitored my social media and sent me emails discussing photos posted on my Twitter account. On July 29, 2015, Harvey sent me an email with the subject line Yummy Mummy, which stated, I see your mom on Twitter. I looked up yours to see what was going on in your head, and you retweeted her. They attached the email. Harvey emailed me, I love the photo of you sleeping on Twitter. Harvey's email frequently contained hate speech and derogatory racist and homophobic language. For example, and as you guys know, he struggled with his this is going to be a trigger one. Let me go ahead and give the trigger warning right now. They do he trying to think of what I want to say. She does make homophobic remarks, which we kind of read earlier. And then she's making racist remarks towards Muslims. I'm going to read them, but I'm going to try to, if they get too bad, I'll probably skip around. So it does make reference to him being gay and not being comfortable with his sexuality and other things. So let's jump into it. Harvey told me you look gay in one of those online photos and stated I would unalive a Muslim if they attacked you. She also said, I hate Muslims, noise, 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 act like animals. And she also said all Muslims should be tied up by their male genitalia and hang from trees. He attached the emails. In another email, Harvey admitted, no wonder I'm a racist. So she admitted to being racist. Let's see. Harvey stated, I can't stand this gay business. It makes me squirm. Actually, yuck, yuck. What does that even mean? She then frequently made personal attacks and threatened Gadd. On January 25th, 2015, Harvey sent me a lengthy email acknowledging that she had been banned from Holly Arms, the pub where I was employed, calling me naive, ugly, stupid, and badly educated, insulting and threatening several of my colleagues at the pub, and threatening me with litigation. Harvey also threatened me to move back to Glasgow, a Catholic mafia kind of place full of pedos, I think, and gangs and liars and crime bows, which is interesting insults because I guess those are Scottish insults that might suit you just fine, and stated that she had considerable contacts in every walk of life, all very angry with you, including a number of law firms. While this email stated that Harvey was blocking my email account and finished speaking to me, she continued to send hundreds of emails after this. So she was basically like, I'm blocking you. And then 2 seconds later, sending emails, essentially. On January 25th, 2016, Harvey mailed me a multi-page handwritten letter, which was barely legible. The letter claimed that Harvey did not read emails because she was allergic to emails, called me a prick, and demanded I call her because she was fed up with the fannying about. What? I don't read emails because I'm allergic to it, so I'm going to write you a letter? What does that even mean? Harvey threatened me that I had a very big enemy in the acting world. I'm not telling you who that is, but they are saying you are all image, and a pain in the butt. Frankly, not surprised. Narcissists are like that. She writes very interesting to be a lawyer. On September 13, 2016, Harvey also threatened that I needed to shut my ignorant little failed actor mouth because I was finished. Harvey also made derogatory remarks about my sexuality in the email, stating she was glad she had never dated me because he's gay, and that she would have AIDS basically if she dated him, which is not proper and not correct. Harvey frequently made threats of physical violence in her emails. In one email, for example, Harvey indicated she was heading to the gun shop to buy guns to shoot each other, and that if we rid of Khan, everyone will sleep easy. The email referred to Sadiq Khan, a Labour Party politician who had recently been elected as the mayor of London and was the first Muslim to hold the position. And as we heard earlier, she does not like Muslim people for whatever reason. They attached the email. Harvey also sent me emails discussing her plans to run for political office to displace Labour Party members, including claiming that she was on 4 shortlists for seats in Parliament. And then they go ahead and attach the emails. Harvey also sent me emails describing her troubling interactions with others. For instance, on November 18, 2014, she wrote that By the way, Piers Gadd a pitched last night saying that they got a great butt. Harvey also regularly propositioned me with lewd and explicit language. For example, Harvey emailed me, "I want to suck your male parts and have you shag me," which is a different word for sex in the UK apparently. Shag me and have a stab at this. Okay. And threatened me with an ultimatum demanding sex 3 times a night and twice in the morning. And stated, "I just want to give you loads and loads of mouth to male genitalia pleasure to make you sleep." Attached here too is the emails. In another email, Harvey made sexual advances toward me while also making xenophobic remarks, stating, "I can't stand all the bloody foreigners in the streets this time of year." What? I did so much want to let me F my brains out. What? Harvey sent numerous emails discussing my body. For example, on January 18, 2015, she wrote that obviously miss your lovely bum and that it is the loveliest bum. She emailed, "You still have a cute butt though. I have been thinking a lot about your butt. It's your best bit." She also emailed, "You have a great butt, and if you invite some gay guy back to your flat, he'll think it's Christmas, I guess." She sent multiple emails, including, "My sweetness, I do love your hair and your butt. And oh, Richard Gadd butt, your butt. You've got the best butt I've ever seen." She wrote, "Your butt, incidentally, is the best butt." If I say butt one more time, she's saying bum, but I'm saying butt because we don't call it bum here. "It's the best one he's ever seen on a guy ever. And I've seen some nice butts. Cracking butt you have." Cracking butt, meaning great butt you have. Oh, wow. Harvey also sent me emails with photos of herself and her underwear. In April 2016, Harvey sent me a photo of her student ID with the email stating, "This is me at 25. Harvey sent me a photo of her underwear. Harvey sent me a photo of herself in an email stating, "See, I was sober before I went out," which I don't know what that means. Harvey frequently described her menstrual cycle, breast, pubic hair, and masturbation habits and graphic details. For example, sorry guys for reading it. Harvey emailed me about her menstrual saying that, okay, we're not doing that. Okay. Yep. And then she said that her lady parts fell off because of her self-pleasuring. What else did she say? She talked about her period making her look bloated. Harvey emails and social media posts demonstrated that she was regularly attending my performances. For instance, on November 18, 2015, Harvey sent me an email with the subject, "Your show," and wrote, "I like the bit where Ben was kicking your butt because the back view of your butt was perfect. That's your best bit." She uses so many different words to say butt. It's like insane. Harvey sent me an email that my show is very funny and that she was gonna have a lie. She was gonna have a lie but needed to pleasure herself. She said, "Where's your sexual parts when she needs them?" Let's see. Harvey publicly tweeted about my play Monkey See, Monkey Do. Harvey stated that she wouldn't believe a word that came out of my mouth about SA. I suffered because she had bitter experiences with him. After years of enduring Harvey's stalking, harassment, abuse, and threats, I went to the police in February 2016. The police warned me that police intervention might exacerbate the situation and lead to further prolonged contact from her, and recommended that they refer Harvey to appropriate mental health / community intervention team to support in this case, rather than issue an instant harassment warning letter. He attached the email thread with the police. However, in the following months, I continued to receive hundreds of emails from Harvey, and in mid-2016, I reached back out to police to express my concern and reopen the harassment case. I attached an example of one of Harvey's emails, which stated, "Self-pleasure that should send you to sleep. I'm a wreck today. I've hit itchy. Okay. She says she has a rash. I've wanted more. She's wanted more adult sexy time in her 40s, had more adult sexy time and self sexy time than in her 20s and 30s. In response, the police recommended that I block Harvey's email address for the time being and advised me to inform that Holly Arms and Harvey had been in contact with me again due to Harvey's frequent threatening visits to the pub. A first instant harassment warning letter had been issued against her, listing the pub as the victim at the time. So she did get a restraining order. So she was saying that she never had a restraining order issued against her. He's calling it a harassment letter. I don't know if that's different in Scotland. I don't know where they're actually at in England, wherever they are. I don't know if that's different than an actual restraining order, but the restraining order was protecting the bar, not necessarily Richard directly, is what Richard is saying. In September of 2016, Harvey obtained my telephone number. This happened at a point when I was away on holiday in Croatia and had switched on the out of office function on my email account. The out of office reply contained my phone number, and I had not thought it through. That if Harvey emailed me during this period, she would receive an automatic reply, which included my telephone number in the footer. Once she obtained my phone number, Harvey began calling me and leaving hundreds of voicemail. I do not have a record of all the voicemails, but I have many hours of voicemails from Harvey that I recorded and still have. The voicemails include graphic detail about Harvey's sexual exploits, stories about catching STDs, threats to me, my family, my coworkers, and other victims of Harvey's stalking and harassment. Over a few days in September 2016, Harvey left me hours of voicemail. As soon as the voicemail box cut her off, she would immediately call back and leave another voicemail. During this string of voicemail, Harvey profusely assaulted me, calling me bipolar alcoholic, and claiming the whole of Glasgow hated me and had an axe to grind with me. She also made threats against my family, stating, "I know your family and that they have enemies." She claimed that she had a file on me and that a lot of people know about me, and threatened to sue me and shut down the Holly Arms, stating she had the power to do so. We can do that. Harvey also threatened me not to tell the police about her voicemails and emails and said she had access to the police files. She claimed that undercover police officers, drug dealers, lawyers, and ex-lawyers were all after me and that the comedy industry hated my guts. Harvey threatened me with physical violence, stating she would smash my balls in, and made violent threats to my coworkers, stating that she is a male part sucking little whore with no tits. And she's male part sucking Spanish whore who shouldn't even be in the country. Wow, that's intense. Yeah, so more racist and more sexually graphic statements. So sorry about that, y'all. And threatening to take a heap of guys that would have actually gone right through her, who were professional guys who would have hit her and threatened her to have her deported. She also referenced petering someone up the butt and peeling off their toenail. Oh my gosh. And repeated, "If I wanted you dead, you are effing dead." Multiple times in these messages, he stated, "If I hadn't been a lawyer, I would have smashed somebody's face in." What is her problem? And this has been going on for 2 years. On September 2016, I emailed the police informing them that Harvey again left me hours of voicemail. I also prepared a document outlining the particularly threatening and aggressive moments from the voicemails for the police. I then coordinated with the police to hand off a SD card with the voicemail recordings on September 19, 2016. He copied the emails with the police. On September 19, 2016, Harvey left me another string of voicemails during which she claimed to have information on my family and once again warned me not to speak to the police, stating she was so angry at me, shouting my mouth off. In this voicemail, Harvey claimed to know 100,000 lawyers and threatened me, "You're not as bright as you think you are. I'm 25,000 steps ahead of you." She stated that she would create World War III over a sketch, referencing my comedy shows. She also went into explicit detail about her sex life and again insulted the same coworker, claiming to have reported her to immigration law and threatening that she would stop her from obtaining employment anywhere in the country. Harvey also admitted, "I'm a racist," so Harvey's the racist, and that she wanted to boot all Pakistanis out of the country. What is her problem? On September 21st, 2016, I followed up with the police and sent another email attaching 30 examples of emails from Harvey ranging from 2014 to 2016. In addition to the emails previously referenced, I also attached emails in which Harvey threateningly stated, "Your place of work was allegedly raided by several agencies last Saturday, question mark. A little birdie told me, and just for the record, I have multiple." Y'all can read that. Okay. I also include example of Harvey's hate speech, including the email. "From now on, do call folks not nice words, particularly in the Labor Party. If Stark Raven, oh gosh, this one's being homophobic and racist, so I'm gonna skip this one." Um, Talking about minorities and gay people. On September 21st, 2016, Harvey left me another string of lengthy voicemails which contained violent racist rhetoric for several minutes, stating, "I want all these foreigners out. Far too many foreigners coming in. If that sounds racist, too bad." During the voicemail, Harvey references that she's been calling me with no call ID, thereby revealing that she knew I had blocked her phone number but persisted calling me nonetheless. Harvey admitted to sending me her underwear. Why? It states I have mad stalkers too, in a seeming admission that she has been stalking me. She once again went into detail about her sex life, her lady hairs, her okay, and warned him to get checked for STDs. Why? He didn't sleep with her, right? On September 2016, Harvey left me another threatening voicemail stating, "I cannot express how angry I am at the way you set me up. I know about you and your family. Stay in effing Croatia." And that is really my final word. I bloody mean it this time. I think you've got psychiatric problems, but I think it's made up and caused by drugs. F off. Yeah, absolutely F off. She also claimed, "I have information you don't need to know. I know about you and your family." Why do you keep calling him and saying he got psychiatric problems when you're the one calling him? I emailed the police again with a list of the most intense parts of the voicemail and coordinated with the police to drop off a pen drive with all the information regarding Fiona Harvey on it, including voicemail recordings. By this time, Harvey's harassment had been plaguing my life for over 2 years. I was fearful. I continually changed my daily routines to try to avoid her and would not spend time in parts of London I knew Harvey frequented. Indeed, I am still apprehensive about going to certain parts of London because of her. I could not sleep. When I did sleep, I would wake up in the night sweating. I spent countless weekends noting down Harvey's threatening voicemails. I was panicked and paranoid. I was terrified about getting on tubes and buses for fear of seeing her. I genuinely was worried that she might harm me or my parents especially. In short, her actions took an extensive toll on my physical, especially mental well-being. The cumulative effect of all of Harvey's action was enormous. It was exhausting and extremely upsetting to deal with her constant personal interactions in the Hawley Arms, her following me around London, including near where I lived, and her relentless and deeply unpleasant communications, as I explained above. I was frightened about what she might be capable of given the progressive hostility and escalation of her communication and volume of her conduct. After many months of speaking to the police, I eventually obtained a first instance harassment warning against Harvey. So she did get a restraining order. And one thing that you might notice in her request or in her complaint, she said she was never convicted of a crime. Just because you were never convicted of a crime does not mean that you didn't have a restraining order against you. It sounds like they're calling their restraining order first instant harassment warnings. I'm assuming it's the same thing as a restraining order. Maybe it's different if anyone is from England or Scotland and they know. I guess it would be England, London, England. If that's the same thing as a restraining order, I would assume that it is. So she did get a restraining order. Does it mean she's convicted of a crime? No, you can get those through family courts. You can get that through civil court. It does not necessarily have to be a criminal restraining order to get a restraining order, if it's anything like America, right? But her behavior did not stop completely. For example, Harvey sent me another handwritten letter along with some underpants. Why does this lady keep sending her drawers? Like, what is her problem? The letter stated, "You've not unblocked your email. You have not checked my emails. Here are some lucky underpants." The outside of the envelope claimed, "If you unblocked your email, you would see I've sent you good wishes." Leave him alone. What's your problem? Throughout my in-person interaction with Harvey, I asked her on a number of occasions to stop engaging in unwanted behavior towards me. And particularly, I asked Harvey to stop attending my gigs, to refrain from making advances towards me, and to stop speaking to customers about me. But it was like trying to reason with someone who had no bounds. I did not change my number because I strongly felt that it was up to her to stop calling, and that it was morally wrong of me to change my number based on someone harassing me. Morally wrong? I don't know about that, sir. I felt it was up to her to adjust her behavior around me as the instigator and aggressor in the situation. I did download software and apps which I thought should block calls from unknown numbers, but none of these worked. Overall, it was incredibly stressful and worry time with a sustained period of relentless behavior taken over several years. It is impossible to be exhaustive in setting out how Harvey's conduct, as there were so many instances of unwelcome personal interaction and attempts to engage, as well as deeply troubling communication. However, the above provides a microcosm of the sheer scale of her targeted harassment towards me. I like the tea. I'll give you that. I like the tea. However, why are we doing this? If we're saying that the show is not about her, why are we telling this? I get maybe it supports your emotional feeling of the story, right? Maybe that's what it is. It supports his emotional feeling of the story. But I don't know if this helps. Let me know what y'all think in the chat. Does this help him? She did all of these bad things to me. She's in her complaint saying she's not that bad, but these are the bad things that she did to me. So yes, maybe some of my emotional reaction was based on this interaction. Is that where he's going? And I will tell y'all, I did not get to the end of this one. I got probably about where we were with the emails. That's where I pretty much stopped before we got on the live stream. So I don't know how this helps him. I really don't. But also, he can tell his story however he wants. Knowledge of other victims harassed by Harvey. I know why. Because in the motion to dismiss, they reference his declaration and his experience of what she did to him and other victims, and he's the one with the knowledge. So that's why they have to cite to this. Okay, I remember now. Okay, I'm also aware that Harvey has stalked and harassed other individuals and have violent fantasies about others. For example, on November 18, 2024, Harvey stated, "I really wish my sister would drop dead." Jeez. I'll have her, I don't know what the FG is. 2-bit of fat sack lawyer struck off. Not an easy thing to do in Scotland. Jeez Louise. Then on December 11, 2014, Harvey sent me an email that said his sister and her lawyer still be in pains. I'll need to disappear them. Jeez. March 3rd, 2015, Harvey sent me an email threatening to shut down an estate planning attorney's firm because she has pushed me too far. Harvey also sent me multiple emails detailing her harassment of Jimmy and Laura Ray. On February 1, 2015, Harvey stated that she had been done over by the Rays, and she and others allegedly done over had hired private detectives in our law firms. Hence, I was called a stalker. Harvey also detailed alleged blackmail she had against Labor Party members. On February 2nd, 2015, Harvey sent me an email stating it was me who called the police to Ray and Walker. I had no choice. He goes on to say, I later became aware that the Rays had obtained some form of restraining order against Harvey. Harvey also routinely referenced Jimmy and Laura Ray in her voicemails to me. In September 12 through 13, 2016 series of voicemail, Harvey admitted that she told Jimmy Ray she would wring his bloody neck and that he had reported this as a death threat. Yeah, I guess. She also stated that she would finish her book on the Labor Party when she shoot about 5 more Labor members in Parliament. This was particularly concerning to me because a few months prior, a Labor member, Joe Cox, was fatally unalived. I fear for my life around Harvey at this point, and Harvey acutely aware that he was scared. In addition to the raise, Harvey also made threatening and violent comments about Blank, a conservative counselor, in her voicemails and emails claiming Blank called her frequently and that he owed her money. Based on the voicemails and emails I received from Harvey, I believe that she also stalked and harassed Blank. Harvey comes forward. Throughout the process of writing Baby Reindeer play and the series, I intentionally did not refer to Harvey by name in any way. When viewers began speculating about the real life inspirations for various characters, I urged them to stop. For example, he attached some exhibit, a true and correct copy of a screenshot of my Instagram story dated April 23rd, 2024, in which I urge viewers to stop speculating. I never intended the series to identify any real person as Martha Scott, including Harvey. Martha Scott is not Fiona Harvey like all characters in the series. Martha is a fictional character with fictional personality traits that are very different than Harvey's. Harvey identified herself to the press as Martha after 3 or 4 other people previously had been falsely identified as Martha by members of the public. I was surprised that Harvey appeared on Piers Morgan Uncensored, though I have only watched certain segments. I understand she claims she was the inspiration for the Martha character and that she never sent me thousands of emails nor left me any voicemails. She harassed and stalked me over several years. And since her interview, other individuals have contacted me through my agents and publicists and said they were also harassed by Harvey, but all were too scared of her to come forward. I declare under penalty of perjury is true and correct. So that is his declaration regarding what happened to him. Okay. That was intense. That's all I have to say. It was intense. I don't see, like I said, I guess he's referencing he did experience and negative things with her, but I don't think it helps of saying like, oh no, it's not a true story based on her. It sounds like it was inspired by her. And maybe that should have been a little bit clearer with why he explained that much of what happened with her. Because that was a lot of information about what he went through with her. So he's basically saying some of the stuff is true about her. So is it inspired by her? Is Martha intended to be inspired by her? He didn't really answer that question. So let's go ahead and jump into the chat and see what y'all have to say. Do y'all think that Martha is inspired by Fiona? Okay, let's see where we are with our like goal. We are at 30 likes with 19 people watching. With 19 people watching live, if you haven't already, please do hit the like button. It does help us out with the algorithm, helps us get more friends. And we're probably not going to hit our like goal for the live stream, but we can at least try to get close, okay? So let's see what we got in the chat. We got what I was going let me move this. Okay. What I was going to say says, oh, this is going to spoil the show for you. Okay. Yeah. I imagine that it has a lot of what the show is in this, but he's also saying it's not about her. As he says, Fiona really outed herself. It's all coming out now. And now all that information is out there. He tried to seal the declaration, but the court didn't seal it. So here we are reading it. Just Stacy says, that sounds like a horrible situation. I agree. He was putting her in a bad, she was putting him in a bad situation. Kimmy says, yeah, when Netflix said her actual texts were even worse than what they showed in the series, they weren't lying. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those emails were out of control. What I was going to say says, it's baffling that some of these still weren't enough for the police to do anything. Why did it take 2 years to do something about it? Why? Kimmy Locker says to what I was going to say, right? I'm confused how the bar got a restraining order or whatever it's called in the UK against her before he did. Like, make it make sense. Maybe more of the employees were complaining and then also the people that were going there. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how the bar got one before him. Maybe they thought that if she couldn't go to the bar, then she wouldn't bother him. But she was emailing and calling him. Etsy says really unhinged, definitely unhinged. No other word for it. What I was going to say says my understanding is the first instance harassment warrant is not the same, and that a true restraining order requires a conviction, or at least it did at that time. I don't know. I would assume it's the same. Like, we can have criminal restraining orders here, or we can have civil restraining orders here. But I mean, I guess if it's the police issuing it, then that does sound criminal. I don't know. I would have to do more research on that. What I was going to say is the T supports the fact that what he depicts in the show is substantially true. Oh, okay, because he served her tea. Kimmy Locker says right to what I was going to say, because Netflix argue that it's not defamation if it's substantially true. Did they argue that? I don't remember that argument. I don't remember that argument. I must have been zoned out. Kimmy Locker says talking about former stalking victims to your current stalking victim is wild. It is. It's so unhinged. It's so unhinged. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, yeah, I'm gonna stalk you, and then I'm gonna talk mess about everybody else's stalk. And they had it coming. Like, she was threatening those folks still. Like, she was not done. Obviously, right? I'm just like, how do you have enough time in a day to stalk people? Like, I can't. Kimmy Luckett says Martha is definitely inspired by Fiona. I don't see how it can't be. I really don't see how it can't be, honestly. Especially with that declaration, I feel like that supports it even more that it is her, right? Sure, were some of the things dramatized? For sure. It's a story. First Amendment protection, all of the things, right? But I think it was, like Kimmy said, substantially true. Substantially based on her. And there were some things that were dramatized. And she came out and said it was her. So is it her fault? Maybe not. But anyways, it is Labor Day weekend, folks. Thank you for joining me on the live stream this Thursday. We will be back. We should be back next Thursday for another live stream. I don't know what we're going to cover. I'm going to try to find the information on the Tom Girardi stuff, and then also the Nicki Minaj new lawsuits, and maybe we can cover that, or we might catch up on some other cases that we have covered in the past. If anything comes up that you guys are interested in covering that we have not covered, I know we only have one live stream per week, so feel free to reach out on the community tab, or we have a Discord server where you can drop your suggestions on what cases we should cover next or on the live stream. And my schedule is still a mess because my boss is gone this week, so I'm still getting home late. But either way it goes, if you guys have suggestions, let me know. And again, I am still trying to get my short content back onto to get back up with the short content. But anyways, I hope everyone has a wonderful Labor Day weekend and enjoy your extra day off if you get the day off. And I will see y'all all on the next